Hey there. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? We have all the world's knowledge literally sitting in our pockets. We've all seen those articles. Maybe you've even read the books on how to exercise more, or read more, or finally chase that big dream. And yet for so many of us, it just doesn't happen. So today we're going to dig into this really frustrating paradox. Why is it that we seem to know so much but end up doing so little?
You know, this quote from the film The Continent just hits so hard, doesn't it? I mean, it perfectly captures that feeling so many of us have, that feeling of being stuck. You know what a better life could look like, but you just feel powerless to get there. It's that huge gap between knowing and doing, and man, sometimes it feels like a giant, uncrossable canyon.
So yeah, that's the big question for today. Is this really just a matter of willpower, just try harder? Or is there something deeper going on here? Something about the very world we live in that's making it so incredibly hard to act? Let's dive in and try to piece this puzzle together.
Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to talk about one core concept, and that word is agency. Just think about your life like it's a ship. Someone with high agency, they feel like the captain. They're at the wheel, setting the course, navigating the storms. But a person with low agency, well, they feel more like the passenger, just getting tossed around by the waves with absolutely no control over where the ship is headed. And that feeling of being a passenger in your own life, that's what we can call an agency crisis.
And what's so fascinating is that this isn't a new problem. For centuries, brilliant minds have been wrestling with this. And they basically came up with two totally different answers. On one side, you've got thinkers like Wang Yangming. He'd say the problem is internal. If you aren't acting, it's because you don't truly know it in your heart yet. The fix? Look inward. But then, on the complete opposite side, you have someone like Hannah Arendt. She'd say, no, the problem is external. It's not you, it's the entire structure of modern society. So which is it? Is the problem inside of us, or is it out there in the world?
So let's dig into Hannah Arendt's idea first, because, wow, it is a really powerful diagnosis of our modern world. She believed that if we want to understand why we can't seem to act, we first have to get our heads around the different types of human activity and see how our society has knocked them completely out of whack.
All right. First up, Arendt talks about something she calls labor. The best way to think about this is like the hamster wheel of survival. It's all the stuff you have to do just to keep going. Cooking, cleaning, sleeping, working that job just to pay the bills. The key thing here is that whatever you produce, it gets consumed almost immediately. You make dinner, you eat it, and guess what? Tomorrow, you're hungry all over again. It's that endless, necessary cycle of just staying alive.
Okay, so the next category is work. And this is totally different. Work is all about building things that last. Think of a carpenter building a solid table, an architect designing a bridge, or an artist creating a sculpture. The things we make through work create a stable, shared world that's still here long after we're gone. I mean, this is basically how we build a civilization. And then, finally, at the very top of her pyramid is action. Now for Arendt, this is what makes us truly human. Action is about starting something completely new. It's launching that community project you've been dreaming about, or speaking up in a meeting with a really bold idea, or getting together with friends to create something that has never, ever existed before. Action is unpredictable, yeah, it's risky, but it's also where we find real freedom and deep meaning.
And this right here, this is Arendt's critical diagnosis of our problem. She says that modern society has taken labor, that hamster wheel, and put it on a pedestal above everything else. We've become a society of laborers, where pretty much everything, from our jobs to our education, even our hobbies, gets judged by the logic of that wheel. Is it useful? Is it efficient? Does it help us produce and consume more? And in that process, the lasting quality of work and the incredible freedom of action, they just get shoved to the side.
So what's the consequence of all this? Well, it's huge. Our society subtly starts to replace genuine action with something much safer, something we can call behavior. I mean, just think about it for a second. Action is risky. It's unique. It's you. Behavior, on the other hand, is predictable. It follows the rules. Now, what gets rewarded in most offices or schools? It's good behavior, right? Hitting your targets, following the curriculum, just fitting in. It's almost never taking the real risk of genuine, unpredictable action.
So where does that leave us? We end up in this state of what you might call learned helplessness. The entire system is quietly teaching us every single day that it's just safer and more rewarding to behave. Don't rock the boat, don't start something new that might fail, just follow the rules. And when that happens, our capacity for action, our real agency, it just starts to wither away.
Okay, I know, that diagnosis sounds pretty bleak. So are we just doomed? Are we stuck? Not at all.
The answer isn't about retreating into our own heads and trying to fix it all internally. And it's not about trying to change the entire world overnight either. The key, the real turning point, is in finding the small cracks in the system, those little pockets in our daily lives where we can start rebuilding our agency, piece by piece.
So how do we actually do that? Well, there's a really practical two-step framework we can use. Step 1 is something called intimatization. Think of this as building a strong, protected inner world, kind of like a greenhouse for your ideas. And step 2 is frontierization. That's when you use the strength from your greenhouse to make small, deliberate trips out into the real world. Let's break down what that really means.
Okay, so step 1, intimization. I want you to really picture this as building your own personal psychological greenhouse. This is your safe space. It's totally private, and it's created through things like journaling, or maybe meditation, or just having those really deep, unfiltered conversations with a friend you trust completely. It's a place where you can explore any idea without fearing judgment. This is where you nurture those fragile little seeds of courage that you're going to need to finally act. So once you've built up a little bit of strength and confidence inside that greenhouse, you're ready for step 2, frontierization. This is all about making small, super low-stakes expeditions out into the world. And the key here, this is really important, is to start actions where the process is the whole point, not some big shiny outcome. Maybe you start a tiny book club with just 2 other people. Or you learn a skill like pottery, not because it's useful, but just for the joy of it. Or you volunteer for just 1 hour in your community. See? These are small, genuine acts of action, not just behavior.
And this is where the magic really happens. Because these 2 steps, they create this incredible, powerful feedback loop. Your small trips out to the frontier start to build real-world confidence. That success then feeds back and makes your inner greenhouse even stronger and more resilient. And that, in turn, gives you the courage to take on slightly bigger, more ambitious actions. It's like a flywheel of agency. It starts slow, but it starts to spin faster and faster.
So what does this look like when you take it to the absolute extreme? Let's look at one of the greatest stories of high agency in all of history, the Wright brothers. And trust me, this isn't just a story about inventing an airplane. It's a masterclass in how you act when literally the entire world is telling you that you are wrong.
I mean, we really have to absorb the context here. Back then, the whole idea of human flight was a total joke. It was something that only crackpots pursued. The social consensus was absolute. A headline in the New York Times flatly declared it would take science at least 1 million years to figure out. So the problem they faced wasn't just technical, it was this massive, towering wall of social proof screaming at them, don't even bother trying. But this is the crucial high-agency pivot. Instead of just accepting what society said was true, Wilbur Wright checked it against a much more fundamental reality. He asked a totally different question. Do the laws of physics say that human flight is impossible? And the answer, of course, was no. Birds fly, so therefore flying wasn't an impossible problem, it was just an unsolved one. And that one little mental shift, that changes everything.
And that insight immediately, and I mean immediately, translated into action. They didn't have the right windy conditions in Ohio? Fine. They contacted the Weather Bureau and used data to find the best spot in the entire country. They didn't know how to control the plane? Okay. They spent hours watching birds warp their wings in flight and then invented a whole new control system based on that. The engines that were available were way too heavy. No problem. They designed and built their own from scratch. You see what they did? They took an impossible dream and broke it down into a series of solvable, practical problems.
There's this quote that captures the high-agency mindset perfectly. The optimist says the glass is half full, the pessimist says it's half empty, but the high-agency person says, you are a faucet. A person with high agency doesn't just passively look at their situation. They understand that they are the source of change. They don't just react to the world, they act on the world. They see themselves as the faucet, fully capable of refilling the glass themselves.
So we'll leave you with this one final thought. A really simple tool you can use, sometimes called the story raiser. The next time you're stuck and you're choosing between a safe, predictable behavior and a riskier, more authentic action, just ask yourself this one question. Which path makes for a better story? Because in the end, rebuilding your agency isn't just about getting more stuff done. It's about becoming the author of your life story, instead of just being a character in it.